Oh, how have you been? It's been a minute. I mean, I follow you on social media, so it's like we never really lose touch with our high school friends, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know that's a cool thing, because I'm very nostalgic and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I like being in touch with my old friends and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but
And
yeah, it has been a minute.
and so what you're on the road all the time from what I see, huh?
Yep.
You're working a lot.
Oh yeah. And you would say overworking, but you could say I love what I do, so it doesn't seem like work. So
Well, you travel a lot, right? So that's always interesting, like meeting, new people and learning about new places and everything. So that's always interesting, that's always a fun thing to do. Are you in
yeah,
town? Are you in town often here in Miami? Do you come often back or
not anymore. Not
no?
anymore. I'm down there for, every 2, 3 months and maybe for a couple of days and
So you're not
so
living, so you don't live here.
I I always say I got one foot in Miami per se and one foot in Alabama.
Oh,
Yeah,
Alabama. I love it there. Yeah. I love
sweet
it.
home Alabama.
Anything north, I'm just like, it's more peaceful, right? It's, más
Yeah.
tranquilidad. The people are
Mhm.
nicer. Like everything is a little more like at a slower pace. Miami's out of control. I just relocated to Orlando. I just got here
Oh,
with my daughter like 4 months ago. Yeah, we got here in September. So it's been an adjustment, to get out of Miami. But yeah, I was done with Miami. I was just like, I can't deal with this place anymore. It's out of control.
that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel and born and raised. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
pretty much born and raised there and my heart is there, it's down there, but it's just like you say, it's gotten out of control and it's
It's too
not
much.
what it
It's too
used
much.
to.
No,
Not what it used to.
absolutely not. My mother's still there, so I go visit, and oh my God, like, anxiety when I'm driving in Miami with the
Yeah,
people, right? It's like, shit, what happened? What
yeah.
happened to the people in Miami?
My
But
mother and my kids are still down there, and I'm
yeah.
and I'm kind of like convincing them like, hey, it's a whole new world out here, but
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Once they get a feel for it, I think that like there's no turning back, Like once you get a feel for
yeah,
like that calmness and yeah, there's no going back to that craziness. But anyway, thank you
yeah,
so much, Riberto, for taking the time to speak with me on the Bear Experiment podcast. I really appreciate it. I've been meaning to touch up on this subject for some time now, as I personally know so many parents. That do have children that were born with Down syndrome. As your beautiful daughter Priscilla, who just turned 27 years old, from what I saw on your pictures that you were posting, the proud papa.
yes. Thank you, and the pleasure's
27
mine to
years
be.
old. Yeah, I can't believe that she's already 27 years old. Geez, we're getting old, man.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just time, I still believe that age is just a number,
Oh yeah.
and and time just flies. I
Yeah.
could I could remember like it was yesterday the first time I held Priscilla in my hands, and
Yeah.
27 years later, here we are.
Amazing. That's incredible. Okay, so let's start there. Why don't you kind of walk us through finding out the news, that she was, that she was going to have Down syndrome. Was it something that you guys knew beforehand, or was it a complete surprise?
The latter. It was a complete surprise. Um, uh, Linda was 19, I was 20,
Which
and
which is not common either, right? When for young parents,
uh, right.
that's all.
Yes.
Your story is very similar to Marlis and Lewis's story. My,
Oh, that's right.
Marlis, who's a dear friend of mine, um,
Yes.
same
Remember, yeah.
situation where, and you have other children, right? You have older children with your wife. Right. So it was, yeah, it like it wasn't lining up, right? Like you weren't falling within that category where it's like, okay, you have to have the amnio, there's history, there's a sibling, nothing. It was a complete shock to you guys.
Right. I mean, all her tests were fine. A normal pregnancy. They did the sonograms, which I'm actually surprised. Even at that point, why they didn't, you know, um, caught it in the sonogram. But nowadays they're able to actually. But um, but yeah, and it's a little ironic because I was reading a book, when that's called What to Expect When You're Expecting.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot
There's
of yeah, pregnant women yeah, I read that when I was pregnant.
Right. I'm the one that actually read it because I wouldn't say I'm an avid reader, but I do love to read and find out things and stuff. So at the time, a little 19, 20-year-old Jit, reading through that book, and there's a little section that talks about the possibilities of Down syndrome and this and that. And I read it and I'm like, nah, that's not gonna happen to us. And I even showed Linda at the time, and she was like, "Oh no, don't even show me that. It's not gonna happen." And the surprise came the day that she was born, and
So
I
so
didn't
what
catch on.
so you're in the hospital, Linda's ready to give birth. You guys have the baby, and at that point, that's when they tell you, or walk us through that process. Like, how did that happen? How did the doctor come in and tell you, listen, we think that your daughter may have Down syndrome?
Right at the time, being 20 years old, 19 years old, not having that experience. When she was born, I was ecstatic. Super happy. I saw her normal. I saw her normal. I say, well, maybe her eyes are a little swollen from
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Babies are born ugly,
birth.
right? Like all babies are
Yeah,
all funny
exactly.
looking. They look like little aliens when they're born.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So I embraced her, whole 9 yards, and she was born around 4:35 in the afternoon, uh, to be kind of exact. And it wasn't until the evening that the genetic doctor or whatever doctor it was came and sat us down and he told us, listen, you know, we have to run more tests, blah blah blah. But there's a high probability that your child has Down syndrome. And I'm like, really? And Linda as well, she's like, really? Okay. Um, and this and that. So I'm like, okay, how sure can you be? He's like, well, based on her physiology, this and that. To make a long story short, I believe she does have Down syndrome. Now the question is, at what level? And the genetic tests are gonna come back and tell us exactly what it is. So whole bunch of doctors coming in and out and talking to us, and I can remember specifically, I think it was a social worker, something like that, sat us down, and being that they saw us so young, one of the first questions or one of the first comments that they tell us, you know, the child is very challenging and this and that to have a child like that. But if you guys decide you don't want her, you can give her up for adoption. She'll be okay, and this and
No
that.
way.
And yeah, and I would love for Linda to actually tell you the part where she looked at the at the social worker and she was like, "Are you crazy? She is my daughter, and no matter what she has or what we have to go through, I love her, and we will take care of her,
Yeah,
to the day that we die."
despite the challenges. So
Yes,
absolutely, that's your baby. That's
yeah,
crazy. So they were hitting you up in that first moment where like you're so young, like you said, and vulnerable. You're getting, big news, right? Like you don't know what to expect. It's like the unknown. So let's
right,
backtrack a little bit. So other than the I guess like the biological and blood work that they do where they can confirm them and write about the chromosome, the extra chromosome and so forth, um was it certain like physical physical abnormalities that they notice from what I've read and understand. It's the positioning or the separation of the eyes, that like you and I wouldn't be able to notice in a baby that was just born, because it's what you were saying. They're swollen,
Right.
right? They look like little aliens, like we're looking at them, and that's your baby. You're just like, that's the cutest little alien
Correct.
in the world. But a
Correct.
doctor, right, and a nurse, right, a medical professional is able to kind of pinpoint because of the separation of the ears or the eyes. And that's then where they take it to the next level, where they're like, okay, there's certain abnormalities based on what we understand. Let's now do some, some medical testing and blood work and so forth in order to be able to confirm this. So, and how long did it take them
Right.
then? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And after the fact, after watching the video, because we had video of the whole thing or whatever, my mom and her mom knew it right off the bat because as soon as she was born, my mom just looked at my mother-in-law, and she was nodding her face with a sad face and so on and so
Like they
forth. That
know they
Richie,
noticed it right away.
yeah, they noticed it right away. We didn't, but they
Yeah.
noticed it right away.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a physical attributes, and on top of that, she had the umbilical cord wrapped twice around, so she was purple.
Mm.
So it was like, it was confusing to me. So yeah, it's a physical attributes, the slanted eyes, the ears, like the ears are lower than ours. Like they explained to us that the line of the eyes, like it's supposed to pass through here through the ears. Well, theirs is lower. Um, their toes, the big toe is a little more separated than ours.
Okay.
Um, the form of their arms, etc. So it's all those physical attributes that the doctors know that this child has specifically Down syndrome. So since you mentioned about the chromosome, the extra chromosome, for those that are
Well, I,
watching,
I I definitely want you to give us an explanation as to what causes Down syndrome. Like, why are children born with this extra chromosome? What's the physiology behind it?
right? So Down syndrome is specifically the medical term is called trisomy 21. I'm no doctor or anything like that.
But you've
But
had the experience. Yeah.
correct. So it's trisomy 21. Why trisomy 21? Well, the human being has 23 pairs of chromosomes, through 23 pairs, 23 from the mother, 23 from the father. When they unite, after fertilization or whatever, it makes a total of 46, 23 pairs. So what happens is that there's many types of trisomies. There's trisomy whatever 18s and this and that, but specifically for Down's syndrome, it's trisomy 21. Why? Because there's a third chromosome in the 21st pair. So the causes of that, there's many causes of that. It could be either genetic or just by chance. So what happens is that in 90 something percent, I'm not sure what the percentage is, but it's a high percent. 90 something percent of the time is usually the egg is the one that comes with when the woman makes the eggs or whatever, it separates all the chromosomes, 23 here and 23 there. But what happens is that some of them come with, two chromosomes on that 21st pair. So when it unites with the sperm, makes that third. So 90 something percent of the time it happens by chance. There's another percentage, which is a smaller percent, where I think it's the mother or the father, like like it's something like the 21st pair is united together. It cannot separate. So half of the times there's gonna be, like in the man's case, half of the times there's gonna be half of the sperms are gonna have two chromosomes on that 21st pair. The other ones are not gonna have any, right? So there's a 50-50 chance that person, whether it's the father or the mother,
Right.
is going to have a Down syndrome. That wasn't our case. Our case was just by chance. And if I remember correctly, during that time, for a 19-year-old mother, the chances of having a Down syndrome was something like one in 1,500, which
Yeah,
is
it's like
pretty
it's
common.
yeah. Oh, it's common, you're saying?
Yeah, that relatively. I mean, 1 in 1,500. That means in our school, that was 3 or 4 thousand students. There's gonna be what, 3 or 4
I didn't
children with Down syndrome.
see. I didn't think that it was at that age, right at 19, that it was going to be such a high statistic. I thought that it would apply more toward really, really young kids, like those cases where a kid gets raped, and they're really young, 11, 12 years old, or very old women, right? Well, not very old, but like if I go and I have a kid right now, I'm 48, like I got to be careful if I could even get pregnant, right? There's a heavier chance. You have to have the amniocentesis, and they're going to do all kinds of medical background checks because the chances of that happening, because your eggs are older, right? So um I thought that when you were 19, I would think that no, like you're fresh, you're new still, like your eggs are good.
Well, listen to this. For a 35-year-old at the time, it should be similar for a 35-year-old mother. Now the chances become 1 in 100.
Yeah,
So
yeah. After 35, they start. You're supposed to get the amnio, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because I was 33 when I had my daughter, and
right,
I wasn't yet, and again, right? It's based on the blood work and all the. So let's backtrack a little bit. So you said
sure.
that now with the ultrasound, they should have been able to detect these attributes, right, that we're talking about, the eyes and the ears and the symmetry in her face, right? um is that
The
what
back
it
of her
is?
neck as well.
So it's based on what they do measurements, and that's how they would be able to tell that something could be wrong, right? Like there's no way to really confirm it unless we do blood work.
Now with higher definition in the ultrasound, they're able to detect it a little better, measure better, etc. But for a young mother, they don't really check much. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, that's probably what happened during that time. They don't, really expect it.
Yeah.
So they don't really, really like, measure, check, or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, it's for a 35-year-old, it's 1 in 100. And here's the thing: even if it happens by chance, once you have that first, especially if it's your first child, once a mother has a Down syndrome child, now the chances become higher, like 1 in 300 or 1 in 200
To have another one, to
of
have
having
another
another.
to have another child with Down
Yes,
syndrome? Oh, really?
yes. So our following children, the two boys that came after her, she did an amniocentesis.
Okay,
You
so
know,
Priscilla was the first one for you guys.
yes,
I was gonna say
yes.
you guys were really young if you had kids before that. I was like, what age did you guys start? Good Lord.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, okay, so Priscilla was the first one. I get it. Okay, so
And
then
she
she
is
had
the
to have so
eldest.
she had to have the amnio then for the boys, right? Afterwards, like they
Right.
were checking her a little more.
Yes.
Now, another thing that is my understanding is that a lot of children that are born with Down syndrome, they're also born with an impairment in their heart where they have a hole that they have to repair, and it usually has to happen before the age of 1. I remember that happening with my friend Marlis as well, and Mia, her daughter. And it seems to be with pretty much everyone that I've spoken to that do have children with Down syndrome. Did that happen to Priscilla as well?
Thank goodness, or whatever universe or whatever is out there, it didn't. That wasn't the case with her. And if I remember correctly, there's a 50-50 chance
Of that?
on a Down syndrome child that they have that situation in their heart, and
Yeah.
thankfully Priscilla didn't have that situation in her heart.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, what were some of the adjustments, like starting off, right? When you guys took her home from the hospital. So, obviously, that's your baby. You're taking her home. That social worker's crazy, right? Like asking you guys that. But I would imagine that, there would be some parents where, maybe they can't afford, right? Some of the, special needs requirements that a more severe case. Obviously, your daughter's not falling into that category, thank God. Um, but when you take her home, like, what are some of the what were some of the changes that you guys had to develop right off the bat? Like, who was helping you? Were your mother, I would imagine, and your mother-in-law?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially, I mean, both our parents were helping us,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a whole different world. I mean, you grew up, with your cousins, siblings, or whatever, growing up, normally in the sense of they learn how to walk normally, they can, you know, um, everything at their age, and at this point, we're like, okay, so what do we do? How are we going to afford? Well, I guess we'll talk about therapies, early intervention, and so on and so forth. And but one of the first, the government helps a lot in that sense for children with special needs, not
Right.
just Down syndrome, but other special
And
needs.
I definitely want to get into that conversation as well, just kind of debunking some of the theories that I've understood and heard about health insurance and qualifications and how long it takes for, her to get on the special list in order for them to get the life care that they require. For special needs kids, I know that um it's a very, very long process, right? For them to get that approval where then they get assistance, they kind of, right, they get somebody that's like, walk us through that. How does that work with the health insurance and the support that you've received?
Yeah, that would probably be more in the department, in Linda's department, but um, at the time, I remember applying for SSI. Um, there was other programs at the time. I mean, we're talking 27 years ago. Now, there's probably a lot more.
Right.
If I remember correctly, it wasn't so much of a long process, but yeah, there's these other programs specifically for physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy,
Right.
early intervention, etc. That are specific for those things like grants, if you will, that
Mm-hmm.
help in those sense. So the grants usually pay directly to the facility where you're taking your child to, but there's plenty of help out there. You just gotta look for it, and usually, as far as health insurance, etc., they really don't consider that condition because it is a condition. It's not, let's debunk one of the
Okay.
misconceptions that it's a disease, that it's a sickness. No, it's just a condition.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a condition.
And that was my next question. If there's one thing that you want to debunk for society and better understanding what Down syndrome is, I would definitely say that it's that, right? It's not a disease. It's your child is going to have certain challenges, but if you attend to them early enough, she can live a normal life. She really can. I mean, that's the reality of it. It's just kind of like attacking the problem before it develops, right? If there's going to be a speech problem, get her in speech since she's a little girl. And for her to better be able to deal or work within society, right? So did she go to regular public school?
She did, and she did, but obviously in a special program.
Right. Right.
So we always met with I forgot what that was called. That's why Linda would.
That's Linda. We're going to repeat this. We're going to do a second
Yes,
one. We've
definitely.
rescheduled this episode of the podcast to speak with both the parents, Linda, um, and Riberto, but unfortunately our schedules have not coincided. But it's cool. We're gonna do this again in January. But it's good. We'll get some information out there, kind of to better understand what you've been through, and educate viewers on who may be dealing with a child that's coming with Down syndrome, or they know someone that has one, or somebody in their family. It's like you say, a lot of people get scared of what they don't understand, so it's about educating the public so that everybody's uh feels more at ease, right, with how to deal with the situation. um, so she did go to regular public school within a special program. And what are some of the biggest like achievements within her education when she was going to school that stand out to you, that you can say, like, I'm so proud of this moment when she achieved this landmark, that maybe you guys would have thought that would have been a struggle.
I would say reading, and we go back to early intervention. It's for your viewers and everything. It is very important that as soon as your child is born,
Yeah.
to intervene early, because yeah, it's more challenging for them to do the things that normal society does in a certain time frame.
Hmm.
But but with early intervention, while they're developing, while they're growing, it is extremely important, because that's going to determine how they're gonna achieve whatever they need to achieve later on in life.
Right, right,
It's
right.
like
You don't know what
they can have
her
one
delays
chance.
are going to be. You don't know
Right,
what her delays are going to be. So you attack everything, so that, she's better well versed as an adult, right?
correct.
Live
Because
with that
as
feeling.
they're growing, you can mold them. If they need physical therapy as they're growing, the physical therapists specifically do things so that they can be able to, do things later in life, do physical things later in life. Same thing with the speech, same thing with the occupational. So, so Priscilla was in school basically ever since she was born, even in public school, ever since she was born. You know,
Hmm.
at 2 years old, she was already like in a class in a public school, etc. So early intervention is extremely important. And again, it's a condition just like, your hair is blonde, or
Well,
your
well, it's not
your
real
eyes.
blonde. It's not real blonde, but we'll go with that.
Right, right. It's a genetic condition. So going back to health insurance, since they don't see that as a disease or a sickness, they accept a person with Down syndrome for the most part. They don't see it as a pre-existing condition.
Pre-existing condition. That's a good point, right? Because
Right,
God forbid you have cancer and you're switching companies and you have to go to a new insurance. Now you have a pre-existing condition and they don't touch you. But that doesn't happen.
correct.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. So if you had to give any advice to parents, to young parents, to any age parents, right? It's what we were talking about earlier. Parents, women having children in their 40s, and they do have a child that is coming with Down syndrome, that they get the news because now, right, we have the advanced capabilities to be able to tell a mother, like, hey, it's happening. So what advice would you tell those parents based on your experience with a 27-year-old that's doing amazing?
Yes, I mean, what I can tell you is that they are, I mean, they are so lovable. They are so uh, innocent, if you will. And uh, they just melt your heart. It's like, I I can't even explain, how much love she can give you, and how much love you can receive from them. I'll tell you one thing, and I'll go back to finishing answering your question. If at the time they would have they would have during the pregnancy, if they would have told us that our child was with Down syndrome, we probably would have had an abortion.
Right.
Probably. I'm not sure because, again, we don't know. We are so thankful we didn't because we are very grateful and thankful that we have Priscilla in our lives. So the advice I would give is yes, it's challenging, but it creates such a bond with your child. You know, the pushing your child to achieve things and the therapies and seeing, like you say, the going through those hoops, when she actually starts reading and and speaking and so on and so forth, that it just gives you that sense of satisfaction, like we did it and she did it, and there's nothing that can stop them from doing anything they want.
Right. Right.
So my advice is, just move forward, embrace it, and just go through the challenges. There's nothing that cannot be done in this world.
That's right. I like that. I like that. Does she live with her mother?
Yes,
She's living
she,
with her mother. Okay.
she lives with her mother. Yes.
And is she working? Like what is she doing now at 27? Is she working? She's living with mom? Like what are her does she have a boyfriend?
Well, um, her mother is very overprotective, which I'm very glad she is.
Yeah.
Very glad she is to an extent. She actually, Priscilla actually went through college. She actually went 4 years to FIU in a program that teaches them basically how to survive in the society. So she's had like work experience while she was in school, etc. Um, so so our plan, or her mom's plan, is to work in, to put Priscilla to work in her business, because Priscilla's very capable. She's very
Right.
capable, very intelligent. Again, she can read, etc. So that's the idea. Now, uh, being that we're pretty overprotective, Priscilla hasn't met somebody yet, where she can like go for that. She's had a couple of boyfriends, yes,
Yeah.
but under heavy supervision,
How funny. Let her
but
live.
yeah, yeah, but she's happy. She's waiting for the right person, the right time to come, to come across her, and who knows, you know.
Oh, that's good. That's good. It's nice to hear how she's living with you guys. And I mean, just talking to you, I can see by the smile on your face when you're talking about her how she lights up your life, you
Oh
know.
yeah,
And that's kind of like the understanding that I'd like to project about this conversation that I'm having with you, because anybody getting that news, it's got to freak you out. I mean, even if you know somebody, it's still something that freaks you out because you don't know to what level of debilitation that child is going to come with, right? Uh and all the challenges that come with that, the financial challenges, the mental challenges, and that would freak me out. That would certainly scare me very much,
oh yeah.
if that was a situation that would have happened with me. So I think that a lot of parents in that situation maybe would think the same way that you would have if they would have gotten the news before, right? Before they went through with it, and then once she's here, it's like, okay, she's mine, right? But I like, don't feel bad, that you had that thought at that moment. I think that's more normal than not with the majority of people, with not knowing what to expect. It's scary. It is scary. But in speaking with you and speaking with others that have dealt with, a child with Down syndrome, exactly what you're telling me is what they tell me. They're like, she's the best, he's the best. They've changed their life in a way that we never expected it to be at this level. The amount of love that they bring into our lives, we can't imagine our lives any other way but with our child, in it, right? Despite all the fears that we may have had. So yeah, I thank you again for sharing the story. I want to dive in a little bit more than to the medical, to the insurance part of it. So you never experienced any issues with, getting denied for any form of, physical therapy or any treatment or anything that Priscilla needed that you can recall? Or is this more
No,
or is this more a question for Linda? Or she's gonna be like,
probably yes,
yes.
but yeah, probably, but I don't recall anything that I mean. So the government, society, they've embraced, these children, and they've tried to facilitate any, other needs to meet all the needs of Down syndrome children. So not many roadblocks. Yeah, maybe if we would have been better off at the time, we probably would have been able to pay for better, more private uh,
Education, right? Like, right, maybe, right, better education
education,
and therapy and what's you're right. Yeah, I get it. I get where you're going with it.
therapy, et cetera, et cetera. But that I can recall, there wasn't many roadblocks. I believe she received, a lot of the needs that like the therapies, et cetera. I just remember the meetings that we always had, the IEPs,
What were
you
they
know,
called?
IEPs. What do
IEP
they stand for? I'm not sure. Our viewers your viewers can
IEPs?
Google it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get
IEP.
okay.
Yeah. So we would have IEPs, every so often, a couple of times a year, with the school, we would meet, etc. And we would monitor, for example, Priscilla's achievements, and based on that, they would come to the conclusion, okay, she needs more speech therapy, or she needs more occupation, or so they would create a lesson plan, if you will,
A
specific
program. Yeah.
program specifically for her, and and they would set goals. Okay, they would set goals. Okay, by this time she needs to be able
Right.
to count to 20. I don't know, just an example.
Mhm.
Be able to read, or be able to say um, 5-word sentences, etc. So there was like roadblocks. So as she met those goals, we kept extending it, and if she would get to the point of taking regular classes, based on all her achievements, um, then so be it. But uh, we never got to that point. She was very advanced. She was very advanced for. So she was like in between. She was like very advanced to the program she was in.
Right.
But if you crossed her over, it might have been a little too challenging for her. So
Right. What
we would
was
always
what
have
what
that
was
conversation.
what was like her biggest challenge that you can remember when she started school that she struggled with the most?
Uh, I would say, I would say, I, I would say speech, maybe Spe- speech, but maybe reading.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Her biggest challenge is actually counting money. Believe it or not, to this day, it's still her biggest challenge.
Really?
So,
Okay.
so I think it's more math. I think it's more
Mhm.
the concept of the numbers, etc. So I think that would be her biggest challenge, though.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what are your hopes for Priscilla in particular for her future, as a 27-year-old? Like what are your biggest hopes for her?
Well, I just hope for her to be happy, whether she stays, single with her mom, or if she does find somebody, that that can treat her, like a queen, like a princess.
That's right.
Whatever makes her happy.
Mhm.
She's super happy with her mom. Yeah, you could tell she's super happy with,
Yeah, Linda seems like she's a great mother, definitely.
oh
Both
yeah,
of you
no,
do. Both
there's
of you do for that reference, I think that you both, I've seen you in parties at Marlis's house in the past, and through Loisa and
Oh yeah,
Pepito.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like
That's
I'm
right.
really good friends with Yelena too, so I've seen Linda there too. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've met your daughter on several occasions. Um, so what would you like to see or envision with society to better include and support individuals with Down syndrome that you would love to see for parents that are starting off with a child with Down syndrome or are currently living with a young toddler with Down syndrome? Like what would you love to see society evolve to that we're not there yet, that you don't see that we're there yet?
But I believe we like for Down syndrome. I think we're living in the greatest. Yeah, yeah, I believe in the greatest times because if you look back maybe 50, 60 years, I mean, we probably hear it from our parents that whenever a couple had a child with Down syndrome, um, they would be ashamed. They would keep the child, secluded.
They were like
They wouldn't even
embarrassed.
go to school. So, so then those children, since they didn't develop, since they didn't receive the therapies needed, etc., they just see these children as, um, and let's be a little, uh, uh, you
Blunt.
know, a little blunt. I mean, in our Spanish society, le decían mongólicos,
Mhm.
and things like that because they thought that they just didn't have the ability or the mind intelligence, if you will, to be able to do the things that now we see Down syndromes do.
To function and my god, I follow a young girl that she's you probably have seen the Victoria's Secret one. She's Puerto Rican. I can't remember her name now, but she's so funny. She's like a tremendous influencer. She lives with her
Yes.
parents, but she was the first Down syndrome model for Victoria's Secret. And she's got a banging body.
Yeah.
But she's funny. She's recording herself while she's having her coffee with her Puerto Rican accent. Sophia, I think is her name, if I'm not mistaken. But
Right.
yeah, you see how some have, right? Like they have acting careers and professionals where they could incorporate into everyday society. Absolutely, right? And it's
Right.
through the education, I guess, that the government is able to provide it. And that's key for anything that's debilitating for any human being at that point, right? it, Give that person that level of therapy or attention that they need for speech development or to be able to walk better or whatever the case may be. That person is going to
Mhm.
improve, through that attention for that issue that they have, right? So why not? Why can't it happen for children with Down syndrome? And we're seeing that it's happening, you know.
Correct. Correct. You're correct. So I think that we are going to evolve to the better. I mean, there's so many companies or corporations that actually only employ like children with
Like what?
special needs,
So
etc.
like which ones are they? That do you know any off the top of your minds of your head?
The name exactly I don't know, but for example, there's a restaurant or a bakery there that I think in one of those shows where they show Sophia or whatever. There's a bakery that only employs Down syndromes, etc., and they actually bake. They actually do all the goodies and bake all
Mm-hmm.
the goodies and stuff. So they're able to sustain themselves in that sense. Um, so actually, I wanted to go back a little bit to the genetic part because
Yeah.
there are levels as well. Like for example, in Priscilla's case, 100% of her cells have that trisomy on the 21st pair. But sometimes it happens after conception, where the cells start developing normally, but then somewhere along the line, it starts developing. Some cells have um, you know three three. chromosomes on that 21st pair in their body, and some of them don't. So those children are a little more, if you will, functional. They're actually, like pretty normal as far as society is concerned.
Mhm. Mhm.
So those are some of the ones you see on those reality shows. The more functional ones. The
Right.
ones that have maybe half of their cells in their body. That have that third pair, so, and some of them don't. So those are a little more functional, if you will. But going back to your question, uh, I think we're seeing a lot of progress in integrating, these children, and you can see that they're achieving more and more. I mean, there's even in the Olympics, not just the
The
Special Olympics,
special
but the
yeah.
Olympics, right? Heavy weightlifters. I mean, you see the swimmers. Priscilla started swimming this, last year.
That's awesome.
She's gone from knowing how to swim zero at all
Mhm.
to now, stroking back and forth through, through the pool, and that just goes to show you just keep pushing them, or they push themselves, and they
Mhm.
keep challenging themselves, and they can keep progressing, and they'll never reach a limit. Just like
Right.
us, we can,
Yeah.
there's always room for improvement, even
Right.
with us. Same thing with them. They can keep achieving, keep achieving, keep achieving until, you know, and sky's the limit.
That's right. That's right.
So that's so people need to see them as just a no, a normal human being. Let's be clear.
Right.
Um, just like a normal human being. And they are a human being, and we just need to embrace them as such. And another advice I would give parents is that as they're growing up, don't treat them differently. If you need to punish them, punish them. If you need to reward them, but don't just say, "Oh, pobrecito, pobrecita," just because they have, just
Yeah.
because they have a condition, you're gonna
Yeah.
spoil them. You
Right.
discipline them just like you would any other child.
Right.
So
That's
I believe that because of that, and because Linda has been so close to Priscilla, Priscilla has grown up to be a very um, well-mannered young lady, and very respectful, etc., etc. Rather
right.
than let them do whatever they want. No,
Yeah,
we just need
a spoiled brat, right? Because that's what
correct,
happens. Yeah,
correct,
you do that to
correct.
any kid. They just become spoiled brats. Let's
Yep.
call it what it is. How important is your family support? Parents, abuelos, abuelas. How important you have sons that were born after her. How important is that community of family helping everybody, with raising Priscilla?
Oh, that's extremely important. I mean, initially, being that our parents, came from uh, that generation of seeing these type of children as,
Where it was a little more of a taboo subject, right? When
correct.
right when
That is the right word. It
yeah
was it was a little
right
more taboo. But immediately they embraced it. They loved her, and the most important thing is the love. With
yeah
the abuelos, the parents, and just and the brothers and stuff. Obviously, the siblings will always fight
yeah
and
yeah
insult each other and this and that, which is a good thing.
right
It's
yeah
actually it's
right
actually a good thing. But yeah, it is extremely important. It is extremely important, and let me tell you, as far as siblings are concerned, Priscilla learned a lot from our second child. She advanced a lot faster from seeing her younger brother.
mimicking the siblings. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yes,
sense. Yeah.
yes. So in that sense, it was very important, and I wouldn't say it's off topic, but since we learned so much from Priscilla, like therapies and so on and so forth that we would do at home, we did the same thing to our children, and by the time they were like 8, 9 months, they were already walking and this and
They were
that.
soldiers. They were soldiers by
Yes,
the age of 5.
yes,
Sure, because you're so well
yep, yep,
instructed and
yep.
well versed at that point because you're so involved because of Priscilla. Of course, you're going to apply that to your other children.
Correct,
Yeah, that's a smart move.
correct.
Oh, so
Yeah,
so then let's close this off. Again, we're gonna have a second conversation where we're gonna
sure.
invite Linda, where we're all gonna coordinate so that we can talk to her and kind of get, her feedback and her words of encouragement for other parents that may be struggling with the fear, right? It boils down to the fear of not knowing what to expect, and that's the purpose of this. So if you to close off this podcast, Ribeto, what is like the one thing that you would tell a parent? I'm 19 years old, I'm in the hospital, I have my baby, they didn't catch it on, or they caught it on time in the ultrasound. Hey, your child, has certain, you know abnormalities that we're seeing, and we need to do further testing. What do you tell that 20-year-old that's freaking out at this point?
Everybody's situation is different. Like for example, I personally know somebody who, and I won't mention her name because I don't know if she wants,
Of
she
course.
wants this to be out there. But she did find out early on, and ultimately she made the decision of
Terminating the pregnancy.
terminating. Yeah, I didn't want to say the word,
Mhm.
but terminating the pregnancy. But to this day, it kind of hurt. It still hurts her because she was thinking more of the with what the child is going to go through. The possibilities of that heart problem, etc. And again, maybe after she met Priscilla,
That's the
she
thing that at that point you right.
she sees her child, in Priscilla.
Mhm.
And at that point, it's not that she regrets it because afterwards she had a child, and of course, had she not made that decision, this child wouldn't be alive. But but maybe if she would have been a little more like know somebody with Down syndrome, etc., maybe she wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But I respect that decision. And I don't want to judge.
Mhm.
Like at this point, if it's me, I'll have the child. And if they have the heart problems, we'll take care of it. Whatever, I would have the child.
Right.
Definitely, I would definitely do it again. Um, but I will not judge. But what the biggest advice is, um, educate yourself about it. Go to these organizations where there are Down syndromes, go see them, go meet them, etc. And that's with any special needs, whether
Right.
it's
They're
autism, whether it's
the communities that are available to help better educate you and guide you.
right
Um
before you make that decision, go and meet some of them and see experts or get help
yeah.
first before you make that decision
Yeah.
and make an informed decision.
That's good advice. That's definitely good advice. Okay, well, thank you again, Ribeto, for speaking with me. I really appreciate this. I think this is such an important topic to better educate younger and older parents, for that matter, right? Who do receive this news and they don't know how to move forward with it. It's very close and personal to my heart. I know lots of friends, very close friends, that have had a child that have come with Down syndrome. And like everything that you said, it's just beautiful, right? Like the kid is awesome. The kid is full of love. The kid has been nothing but a blessing in their lives. But at the moment, they were very afraid. They were very afraid of the unknown. So it's important to have these types of conversations so that others can hear that it's going to be okay, and there are communities available that you can speak to and give you this feedback, right? So that you can better so that you can make a better decision with whatever it is that you choose to do with your life, right? With ultimately it's your life. You're the one um that's going to have to deal with this for the rest of your life. I mean, at this point, it's a person that you're going to have to take care of for the rest of your life for the most part, right? But then we can apply that to some of our kids that don't have Down syndrome, that never leave the nest.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I know a few of
But
those too.
oh yeah. But Monica, no, I wanted to thank you for reaching out to me, and I wanted to thank you for bringing this out to your viewers. This very important topic that we're speaking of, today. So I wanted to thank you for that as well.
No, it's my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to speaking with Linda, and share some pictures with me so that I can add them to. If you're okay with it, I can add some
Sure,
pictures of
sure, sure.
Priscilla. She's a beautiful young 27-year-old girl already. I couldn't believe it when you posted that.
Yeah,
But if anybody would like to speak with you directly, I could put your social media. If anybody would want to, that's questioning certain aspects of what we're discussing right now. If it's okay with you, I can put that in the comment section and in the YouTube portion so that they can contact you directly. It's up to you if you want to do it. I
sure,
think,
sure, sure. Yeah,
sharing is caring. That's part
yeah,
of what we're
sure.
doing today. And how I always say, if this can help even one person, then we did something positive. We did something good because that's the purpose of this podcast. So if
I
this is
agree.
something that to the viewers that are watching, you can share this podcast with somebody that may need to listen to this, very encouraging message of hope and love and family, and that not everything that we don't know has to be scary, right? Like sometimes those are the biggest blessings that come into our life if we just welcome them. Um, so don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming episodes. Like and share this episode. And again, share it with anybody that you feel that may want to watch it. Riberto, thanks again. It has been a really, really, really great pleasure speaking with you. And I'm really looking forward to repeating this again with Linda and further educating everyone and myself as well with the Down syndrome movement in society and how we can better elaborate this message for others that may need to listen or are dealing with this. So thanks again, and I wish you a wonderful evening.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. Have a good evening yourself. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye now.